The U.S. and Israel's war with Iran is now entering its fourth week. And today, Central Command Chief Admiral Brad Cooper said that they've struck more than 8,000 military targets in Iran since the war began. We're also learning that Iran tried, but failed, to hit a distant joint U.S.-UK military base in the Indian Ocean with 2 ballistic missiles. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, which adds neither of the missiles hit the base, but the move marked Iran's first operational use of IRBMs and a significant attempt to reach far beyond the Middle East and threaten U.S. interests. Meanwhile, oil prices worldwide are skyrocketing, and the Trump administration is scrambling to contain the economic damage, including by temporarily lifting sanctions on Iranian oil that is currently at sea, authorizing it to be sold to most countries. That means we are helping the country that we are fighting make more money so that they can keep fighting us. President Trump is also pressuring NATO allies to secure the Strait of Hormuz. He escalated his rhetoric last night, calling NATO a, quote, paper tiger, and blasting our allies as, quote, cowards. At the same time, he said that he's considering winding down the war, even as the Pentagon reportedly seeks $200 billion in additional funding. If you are confused about whether Trump has a plan for how all of this ends, you are not alone. Even Trump himself doesn't seem to know.
I may have a plan or I may not, but how would I ever say that to a reporter?
Joining us now to unpack all of this, Michael Weiss, editor at The Insider and author of The Glass House, How Russia's Military Intelligence Agency, the GRU, Changed the World. And with us also is Jake Conley, breaking news reporter at Yahoo Finance. Jake, welcome to the show. Let's start with you. So I'm curious, do you think that this loosening of sanctions on Iranian oil will actually materially affect oil prices globally? And if so, what does that actually mean for the typical consumer who might be watching us?
Well, it's hard to tell exactly what kind of impact it will have, but it is not that much oil comparatively. And the thing that you have to remember here is that what the market is watching is oil movement, not just raw barrels going onto the market. That's why this release from the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, is likely not to move prices much, because what needs to happen for traders to assess that the market is recovering is that we need to see oil getting out of the Persian Gulf. That's the only thing that matters here. For the American consumer, who is now seeing national gas prices less than 10 cents away from $4 a gallon, it's not likely to make much difference.
Michael, if you kind of look at what is happening as we enter week 4 of this war on Iran, you look at what Iran has been able to do in terms of withstanding this incredible firepower, 8,000 military strikes, according to General Kane. You've had the upper leadership of the regime decapitated, the supreme leader decapitated, the head of the Basij, I can go on and on. And yet, as we just reported, Iran tried to strike at the Diego Garcia base with, the first time since this war began, the long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Right, 4,000-kilometer range.
Totally a bit of a game changer.
Yes, puts a lot of European cities in range.
Right.
I mean, in a weird, ironic way, Iran is doing more of a convincing case of getting the Europeans to want to participate.
Join in the, yeah, right.
Donald
right.
Trump ever has, right? Yeah, look, I mean, just today they struck Arad in Israel.
Right.
Killed 6 people. 100 people are still, I think, buried under rubble. There's a lot of casualties. The Israelis are still rallying behind the government in this war. They see this as the culmination of their October 7th war. This is kind of the taking care of old family business. It began with Iran. It has to end with Iran. The question I have, I mean, I know what the military objectives are. You know, you have General Kane spelling them out repeatedly, even when Donald Trump is kind of in this manic depressive mode of, we've already won. No, wait, we need help from other allies that we've been disparaging for the last year and threatening to invade. It's destroy the ballistic missile program, truly obliterate the nuclear program, and also eliminate Iran's ability to project power in the form of these militias that they've been developing for the last 40 years, including Lebanese Hezbollah and the Iraqi militias. So those are the military objectives. But after that's done, what do we do to guarantee that when we go home, the Iranians don't reconstitute all of the above? Right? So are the Israelis going to come back in and, you know, mow the lawn, as they put it, meaning they'll continue to bomb to ensure that Iran stays down, if not out? And if so, are we going to participate in that? And how long? Is this an indefinite project or whatever? I mean, Trump said at the beginning he envisaged certain political actors as kind of the Delcy Rodriguez of Tehran. But now we seem to be killing the ones that we had in mind, like Ali Larijani, who I never thought would be somebody very amenable to this, as the guy responsible for suppressing the protest movement.
But they keep replacing people with
More
hardline people than the original hardliners.
Who profess absolutely no desire to.
And a desire to get nuclear weapons.
That's right. That's right.
And have we just dropped all pretense of regime change and democracy for the Iranian people? Because at one point, I remember in the drumbeat leading up to this war, that was one of the main arguments they would make to members of the press.
Yeah.
And we spoke to members of the diaspora who had pinned their hopes on this.
Absolutely. Look, I would put it this way. I don't think that regime change was ever in the cards. I think the Israelis have a different strategic objective. Regime collapse is one. Civil war is another. Anything to keep Iran from posing a threat to the region and to Israel in particular. The United States, again, is kind of like blindly throwing darts at the board, seeing what hits and what doesn't. You know, I mean, do we have a transitional government? No. Are there signs of deterioration or cracks in the regime? As far as we can tell, what U.S. intelligence is saying, no. So again, we can achieve our military objectives, but then what? What is the political transitional solution here? And if there is none, that means we're going to have to come back in again.
Well, and I guess my big question now is, what are the cracks with our allies in the region? How sick are they of this war that they have been drawn into? And I guess what I would ask you is, what is the long-term damage that has been here? What has your reporting been on our allies in the region about their impatience with what's happening, or if they want to just see us hurry up and finish the job and stay committed? How much damage is there going to be to long-term energy markets?
Every single strategist I talk to tells me this is going to be measured in months, if not years, certainly not weeks. Already this week, you saw the CEO of Qatar Energy come out and say that the largest LNG export terminal in the world, in Qatar, could have to delay shipments for up to 5 years. It just goes to show you how long this is likely to last. You've seen attacks on refineries in Saudi Arabia, refineries in Kuwait, sites in the UAE. All of this is months-long repairs, billion-dollar capex investments that's going to weigh on the market. I've talked to a lot of people, and I keep asking them the same question. Let's say tomorrow the White House and Tehran were to negotiate a ceasefire, and you've seen the president say he's not looking for one. But let's say they were to come to one. Oil traffic was to resume normally. How long does this tail really last? It's still going to be months or years because of the damage we've seen. Production shut-ins at the wellhead, that is not an overnight fix. Damage to export facilities, damage to refineries, those are not long-term fixes. And you see that reflecting in the market. You saw Delta CEO Ed Bastian come out this week saying his company is going to take a $400 million hit this quarter, and that they've already started raising ticket prices, raising fuel surcharges to go along with that. American predicting they're going to lose $400 million this month alone. The economic impact of this is huge. You look at the U.S. economy right now. Take all three major indexes, the S&P 500, the Dow, NASDAQ. All three are in the red this week. All three have now given up all of their 2026 gains. This is not the market we thought we were going to be walking into, but it's the market we've gotten.
So you mentioned a couple of the airline CEOs. I thought you were going to mention United's CEO, who said this week that he was expecting oil prices to go up to, what was it, $175 a barrel, and that it will remain above $100 a barrel at least until the end of 2027. So you've talked about what this means for the companies and how much money they're going to lose. What does that mean we're looking at in terms of, like, airfare is getting more expensive and gasoline getting more expensive and all of the other downstream products that are made with oil and gas?
Right. Yeah, as we were talking about, gasoline prices in this country already approaching $4 a barrel on average. A month ago, that was below $3. That is a huge hit to the American consumer, who's already getting squeezed from higher electricity bills from AI, now higher gas bills. Jet fuel has doubled on its price. That is roughly 40% of an airline's book. They're going to have to push up ticket prices. Vacation season is just around the corner. If you're looking to book flights, that is going to bite into your budget. At the same time, you see the Fed this week holding rates steady, trying to get a handle on this inflation problem that we're facing. Energy prices push up headline inflation. They can eventually push up core inflation. But this is the problem that's facing the Fed. If you cut rates, you risk runaway inflation. Things get more expensive. People can't afford anything. If you raise rates, you risk cutting growth. You risk raising the unemployment rate because nobody hires when their borrowing costs are higher.
You risk having a recession.
Exactly. You risk pushing us into a recession, and it's debatable whether we're in one right now or not. So every single time something else happens here, the tail gets longer. You've seen Goldman Sachs, Dan Stuyven, their head of oil research, saying that this is nonlinear. For every day this goes on, the effect gets worse every single day. This is going to be measured in months, not years.
Michael,
or if not years.
Can I go back for 1 second to this Iranian oil that we're now green-lighting for sale? And I know that you spelled out that it represents a small part of the global market. But for the Iranians, it represents a big deal, potentially. And I guess I just want to take a trip down memory lane. I'm sure you remember better than I do. Because when Obama negotiated his deal with the Iranians, I recall Republicans being extremely critical, describing pallets of cash that were being sent over there as this travesty, political scandal. And, I'm not the numbers person at the table, but it appears that the money they may make here represents 10 times what Obama sent them back then.
Well, maybe if we send it in cryptocurrency, Donald Trump can say it's not the same thing as pallets of cash. I mean, look,
Trump coin.
The big counter-argument to the JCPOA was that money could be used for things like the IRGC, the ballistic missile program, right? Military purposes, not to do with necessarily the nuclear program. Who's to say they're not going to use this money that we're giving them now to rebuild the stuff that we're destroying as we're destroying it? I don't see any kind of restrictions in place here on what they're going to be able to do here. So, yeah, I mean, it's sort of an Alice in Wonderland scenario. We are literally financially benefiting the country we are looking to destroy militarily.
And Russia, too.
And Russia, too. We're doing sanctions relief with the Russians, yeah.
And to add to that really quickly, the Iranians never imagined using the Strait of Hormuz as a leveraging chip in the negotiations over the course of the last several years. They are now using it, and they know that going forward, even when this war is over, they will now have the ability to extract more concessions from the Americans because they have demonstrated they can, in fact, and they are willing to shut down the Strait of Hormuz with the U.S. not being able to do anything about it.
It seems to be hate on the Marines week because, Bob Mueller was a Marine. Donald Trump said, good riddance, I'm glad he's dead.
Yeah.
A Marine Expeditionary Unit is said to be the one responsible for going to seize the Strait of Hormuz. I talked to a retired Marine who said, these units, they capitalize on the element of surprise, yet everyone's talking about the fact that the Marines are headed to the Strait of Hormuz. There's no surprise here. And if they seize it, then what? When will they have to withdraw when the Iranians start pounding them? So, yeah, I mean...
That's a good point. Michael, Jake, thanks.